Let's go. Let's go. Wow.
Yeah, no, it was like
I can't see anything.
Jealous
Is it doing
Empire.
this time? Wait, why is it not transitioning? What is this? Hey, baby, let's go. Let's go. Okay, we're here, baby. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, all around the world. And it's podcast time, baby. It's a Tuesday. 2 weeks till Modern Warfare 2. Come on.
Bros are 2 weeks away.
Yeah?
Holy shit. Probably
Pretty
2.5
much.
more.
No.
2.5,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Jesus, that scared me for a second. I was like, 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2.5, 2.5.
Okay, 2.5, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Man,
that's still pretty
that's
soon.
close.
Yeah, it is seriously close. I'm applying with this. Let's go. Oh, who made
I
this
was
again?
muted when I said that. Did you see Adriana Chechik break her back?
I can't believe that was
Yeah.
crazy.
Right.
Bro, I didn't even know who she was. I thought she was
Wait.
an actual like Twitch streamer, and this was like, nice. I was like,
Wait,
oh,
the
shit.
fucking Dexerto tweet was fucking crazy.
Oh, yeah, the
What did they say?
back balloon out thing or something?
they said
actually
whatever her name is.
unreal.
They were like, what was her name?
Adriana Chechik?
It was
something
like
like that,
Adriana had her back blown out again, this time by the ball pit at TwitchCon.
Yeah, that's crazy. This
That was
thing
unreal.
so
Like, yeah, and then they actually took that down. I'm fuming.
Oh, they took it down? I was
uh,
looking for it.
Yeah,
of
they
course.
took the tweet down. They took the tweet down.
Because like she
Of course
actually
they
like
took it
broke
down.
her back on the floor.
Yeah, but like that's so crazy. Like, I think it was the Lenovo booth or something. But how is that even possible?
Well,
that there
they're
isn't
gonna
another
get sued.
The
foam on
foam
the
pit
ground.
was like
They're
this
gonna get
deep, bro.
sued.
The
This
foam
could
pit
have
was,
sued
like,
them
this
for
deep.
like millions, though.
Because it has to be by law. It has to be 2 feet deep, and it wasn't.
Damn.
I think
Yeah.
someone
Only-
else hurt themselves too.
Yeah, one other person dislocated their knee, and like actually like fucked up their knee pretty bad.
Like she legit
Yeah.
broke her back. Like that is a life. Like that's legit. She'll have that shit for life. Like no way.
You're paralyzed
Yep.
from that.
Yeah, she's actually lucky not to be more seriously hurt. Like
Well,
crazy.
now there's a rod in the back, so now she's like that's like
Yeah, it's just
permanent
surgery or something.
disability
The rod, where's the rod?
in her back.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It always was.
Yeah, nice one, boys.
Jesus Christ.
Nice one. Really great start to the COD podcast for the day.
I didn't want to go too rogue, but there we are.
Yeah, all good, all good. We moved. All right, let's go, baby. Slim replied with the iShow speed dive. I don't even. How is that even a real picture over this one? That is just fantastic. Anyway, all good. Welcome to the chat. We've got lots to dive into today. We've got some announcements to talk about, some big rumors and stuff as well going on. And then we're going to try our shot at some power rankings, baby. Because, yeah, the power rankings, we've been seeing some fugazi going around on some of these teams, at least in my opinion. Well, there's been some controversy, really, about power rankings the last couple of days. We know what all the teams are at this point. We'll give our perspective on it. How delusional we are remains to be seen. And I think some of the power rankings I've seen has been relatively solid, but I do think that some teams are getting disrespected a bit. So I guess that's one of the questions. But yeah, we're good to go, Emma, whenever you want.
Man, I can't wait to start watching some tournaments. Man, it's gonna be fun as fuck.
Yeah, including one particular tournament.
Yes,
That we
one
should.
that we know a
Run
bit
the
about.
Yeah. We'll mention in a second. Wow. All right, we're good to go. I'll do it. Which episode 85? Yeah. Come on, baby.
Fucking
let's
hell.
go.
Every time I get surprised by that.
Will
Master
Paris
no
not be in
comps.
F or BT? Yeah, we have slightly different tiers, I think. But yeah.
Paris is a hard one, man. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but Paris is a hard one to rank, in my opinion. Obviously
yeah, I
at the
actually
bottom somewhere,
agree.
but it's like, are they at the bottom? Are they on the bottom tier or like a little bit above?
Yeah, true. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
so 85, yeah.
I'm saying 5. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, Tactical back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to the Breaking Point podcast. It is episode number 85, and we've got loads to dive into. Some announcements this week from the COD scene all around the world, and that is going to lead us on rather nicely to some power rankings. There's been a lot of drama in the last 48 hours or so over what the power rankings should be for the upcoming season. We'll give our take on what they actually are and if certain teams are getting disrespected. We shall see. Boys, welcome back. Full crew yet again. Lion, I know you're under the weather, but thanks for joining us regardless. New background today as well. We'll have to see it.
Ah, yes, it's moving as well. It's just a little bit choppy because, it always is. My camera's pretty shit. I've got a COVID test ready. I've got all these, got the utensils,
A
got
live
everything.
COVID test.
Yeah, we will be doing a live watch party COVID test in a moment. But yeah,
I still
just been
haven't had
sick.
COVID. I still
You
haven't had it.
bastard.
Yeah,
I've had it 3 times.
3
Fucking
times.
hell.
Yeah.
Yo,
Are you
think I'm
an
licking walls over here.
anti-masker?
No.
Ah,
that's what pisses me off too. No, I'm fully boosted. I got the fucking experimental ones. I'm like,
bro, I got 2 of them, and that's it. I got the first 2, and I was like, oh, nah, I can't bother with the rest.
fair enough. Yeah, I
It's
got
actually
3.
pretty hype on stream.
That's
We've never
so
seen this
hype.
before.
Yeah, we're gonna do the COVID test now. So just ignore me. Actually, don't ignore me. I'll mute out and you can watch me, and I'll give you guys updates along the way.
I'm excited for the update. We need like a live camera shot of the, you put it down under the camera and then we can see if the line comes up.
Yeah, we can watch the line together. We will do that.
I
Yeah.
actually get the "You Are Not the Father" meme ready.
That's gonna be good actually. There's future potential with that. Look at him go, baby. All right, Austin, what's good? We've been doing some good work towards a tournament that may or may not be happening. We'll mention that in a second.
yeah, no, it's basically been working on that. Getting ready for the COD season. Getting ready for Halo Worlds because I'm gonna be working Halo Worlds. What is it not this weekend, next weekend. So yeah, just getting ready for a bunch of production stuff. Not really season stuff yet, but I'm excited because that's just right around the corner too. But other than that, nothing much really. Same old, same old. What about you, Crone?
I'm good, bro. I've been drowning myself in Overwatch 2 the last week. It's my birthday this weekend, so probably got a lot on this weekend.
Woo!
Big 32, man. Jesus Christ,
Wow.
I'm ancient. I'm so old. It's not.
You're
funny,
actually
man.
so washed. Nah.
So old.
Whoa! I swear,
I
from
mean,
like
he's-
age 30 to like 35 isn't much difference. It's all just like 30s.
Bro, to me, it's like 28 onwards is just like a blur. It's just like it's all the same. I mean, that's when I
Is
became a
that-
dad, though. So,
Yeah, exactly. That's what everyone
Yeah,
says.
yeah.
Is once you have a kid,
Yeah.
it's like a fucking time machine. So
yeah.
best of luck, man.
Yeah, well, happy birthday in advance. But
Cheers, boys.
we keep it moving. All right, let's go. Breaking Point next. Let's talk about it. Long time in the making, this tournament. Something that we've wanted to do as Breaking Point for a while. Put on like a proper good tourney with all the bells and whistles. That's what we're going for. The game comes out October 28th. 1 week later, we drop what is basically going to be the first big challenger tourney. Saturday, Sunday. Saturday, 3K prize pool. Sunday, 3K prize pool. European on Saturday. North American on Sunday. Winners are crowned. It's going to be a great time because we've got some premiere setups as well. We've got Molds and Chance doing it. We're going to have potentially some special guests on the analyst desk. Stay tuned for that.
Is it 4 teams per tournament? Like 4 EU?
Yeah, so I
4
think it's
NA?
a 4-team invitational. You can probably speak more on that, Austin, in terms of the format and how it's going to
And
be
how do they
run.
get invited? How do they get invited? I'm interested to know that.
So it's going to be actually 6 from NA, I believe, and 4 from EU because there's so many NA teams. We didn't want to keep it out, so we're going to be doing a play-in, I believe, on that side. But it's going to be you're going to get an invite based off of the top 20 challengers. So we took players from there, and then we're going to invite teams off of that. So if you made the top 20, you have a chance to be a part of it. So yeah, that's where most of the EU teams are coming from. The NA teams are also going to be coming from that front. But I think we're going to do 2 auto invites and then a little bit of a play-in, quite possibly. So that is going to be the second batch of announcements. It's going to be pretty fun. This one's just the overall one where we're going to have 3K prize pool per region. There's going to be 4. It's going to be basically a 4-team tournament on both sides, double limb. So it should be a lot of fun. It should be most of the top challengers teams. We're actually really excited because most of these guys are either going to be, at the top of the challenger scene, or even possibly on like the substitutes for CDL teams. So we're really excited to be throwing it.
Yeah, I can't
It's
wait.
actually
Bro.
pretty
It's
intense
gonna
right now. To be fair, Lion, like it does
be fun. You gotta
usually
wait
take a
15
few
minutes.
minutes. It
Yeah,
does
like you're gonna
usually
be
take a
holding
few
it for
minutes.
ages. I swear
Yeah.
it's like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it might take a little bit of time, but I mean, feel free to keep going with it. I respect it. Yeah, you're good. You're good. What does Charles look like a day trader in that pick? Charles is a smart guy, bro. Like, I would be surprised if Charles is up to that during his off season for sure.
We got day trader Chance and Buzzcut Miles.
Yeah, actually, Buzzcut Miles is yeah, he's got the sergeant cut. For some reason, the top of his hair is just gone. So anyway, hopefully they actually turn up looking like that. But yeah, so Breaking Point next is super exciting. Hopefully we can do more and kind of bigger and better in the future, right? Like we do this, we learn from our mistakes, we do as well as we can. We build some
LAN, maybe?
competencies, and then we do a
Probably
LAN.
LAN.
Yeah, that I think
Yeah.
that's the play in
Might
the
have to come
future.
through.
Oh my
Me
god,
and
yeah,
Rab on the
absolutely.
disc.
Yeah, I'd be so down for that. I've actually told myself that I'm gonna like next year I'm gonna go to at least one event like in this because it's not gonna be in the UK, so I'll go to
Yeah.
at least one in the States. I don't want to go to champs because the LA is too much effort.
Go to the Boston one. Is there a
Okay,
Boston
maybe
one?
the Boston Major 2. No, Major 2, yeah? I think it's
So
January.
that one's probably closest to you.
Oh, I go to that. I might also go to the New York one though in Major 4. Probably I'll
That's
go
a
to
good
an
one
East
too,
Coast
yeah.
one. Because New York was good last year, so I got faith.
Wait, is there a New York one?
I think Major
Pretty
4
sure
New
there
York.
is.
I'm
Or
pretty sure
because
there is.
And then
maybe
and then
even
there's
Toronto. Toronto closer?
and then you
Toronto
guys are
Major
tweeting out
5.
that there's Toronto, right? That's 3 East Coast tournaments. That's gotta be the most ever in a Call of Duty season.
Good
Because
point,
there
to
was
be
like
fair.
no New York
Probably.
tournaments ever
Yeah, true. Actually,
in
they
Boston. This
used
will be
to
like the first
never
Boston
do
one
them.
because the Boston's never had one before.
How's this thing going on with Lion? I'm trying to
Never.
look in here real
Boston never
quick.
had one.
I think Lion's good, low key. Okay, it's only early days. It's early days. Yeah, you're good. You're good. Let's go. Line's good. Okay, yeah. So that's Breaking Point next. Really exciting stuff. Make sure to tune in. It's going to be a great time that weekend. Some other confirmations we have, courtesy of a couple of the teams. Vegas Legion have confirmed their roster, baby. Let's go. Clayster, Temp, TJ Prolutes. As
Is this
expected.
the earliest I've ever announced?
That's
It's
a
gotta be,
great
right?
point. I've got to give.
Oh no, actually, the game
do
comes
you
out in
think?
2 weeks though, so.
They
Oh
kind of
no,
have
usually
to.
they announce after. Usually they announce after the game, right?
Yeah,
Can't
usually they
remember.
announce like December or something.
Yeah, like, we're still waiting on
regardless of when the
London,
league
bro. Like,
launches.
what are you boys up to, right?
Yeah, but I think there's probably some chaos there behind the scenes. But I mean,
Ah, yeah, true.
we'll do Vegas first. Clay is back, baby. Come on. We don't get Clay and Crim retiring same season. At least Clay gets at least one more year. This will be really interesting to see how Clay performs this season, just because last year was a struggle, but he was great at the start of Cold War. I still think he can potentially be a top AR. And, people talk about Clay and Crim and Scump and these guys' age, but no one ever really talks about Slasher being 28. But he's still fine. So I'm like, why can't Clay do it at 30? No reason why he can't. It just depends on whether this team is going to work out well for that. I can see friction emerging between Clay and Temp. I don't know how that's going to develop over time, but I feel like the issue that Vegas have in part is that they've kind of gone for a similar philosophy as previously, where they put together the kind of best of the rest players and hope it's going to work. And I do think this year's iteration is better than some previous ones that they've had. But I also fear that Clay had some issues with the younger guys on New York back in Cold War, where he was like, I just can't keep dealing with these younger, like the amount of stuff he had to teach them and mistakes they were making. I think it's good for Clay to have some more veteran presence, guys that have been around the league for many years. Only Prolute doesn't have that much experience on this level, and even he got some good couple of months with the optic guys last year. So that should be better, but also if anything does go wrong with the chemistry, especially because Clay knows that he's in the last couple of years, at which point if things go terribly wrong, you might just screw this, chalk it up, like get me out of here. That's a risk that Paris, Vegas have to deal with. And we saw with Cold War New York when like Riven, the rumor has it that Riven wasn't really doing, not exactly wasn't doing his job, but he wasn't doing enough of a job to try and mitigate the internal drama. Or, the theory was the coaching staff was weak in that New York camp. And it's not like Vegas have, theory might be a good coach, but it's not like they've really got a particularly in-depth coaching staff that can potentially manage conflict the way that some of the best coaching staffs potentially can. So that's probably part of my concern with this Vegas team, but I guess the players are still surprisingly young. I mean, Temp, I think, is 22, maybe 23. TJ's 23, and Pro looks like 21. So they do technically have some young players. So maybe there is some future in this team. What do you reckon, Austin? I ranted for a bit.
I think on the AR side, they could possibly have a strong AR duo. The SMG side, I think that's where the concern lies with this roster. TJ's not been known as the biggest slayer on the SMG side, and Pro's been more known as more of like a support, like S&D. But both of those guys are more like S&D players, where it's not super high slaying, but doesn't mean they can't do it. It just means like in the past we haven't really been put in that position yet. I mean, TJ obviously was in past years, but we haven't seen that in a while. So I could see this team like hanging on with their ARs. Like the ARs doing a really good job here. I could see this team being more structured on the hard point side, but they might struggle against teams that have higher slaying power. They might struggle, honestly, maybe in S&D. I think some teams will have the S&D like advantage over them, so they might struggle. But it's better. It's a better foundation than past Paris Legion teams. I will give it that, and I really do think like Clay is going to be better this season than he was last season. And if TJ can still be a really good SMG player, he'll just need like a couple of the players around him to step up. So they could be a threat to some of the teams. But I think they're going to be lower in the midfield.
No, you're
No,
good.
you're good.
I was just fuming. So apparently he's muted on stream, but we can hear you. But Omar maybe can't hear you.
We can hear you.
Omar probably had you muted himself. I blame Omar. I get it, lad.
Yeah, that's
It's all good. I mean, he was speaking straight facts, to be fair. Like,
maybe
I can just reiterate what you were saying. I'll just copy and paste. Lion was basically saying that, guys like TJ were really good at hitting their ones back in Advanced Warfare, and that little bit of extra ability and okay, he's back. Finish your point, Lion. Essentially, you're still dead. You're still dead. You're still muted. It's actually so weird, though. I've never seen this before.
Maybe it's because you swapped the streams when you were on your phone.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
sure. I don't understand why. Because we can hear Lion perfectly well in the call, but Omar
That's
clearly
so
can't
weird.
hear Lion. So
Is it just unmuted? Can you hear him now, Omar?
yeah, is he muted in the? Have you not muted him in Discord, Omar? Unless I'm absolutely tripping. Comedy, honestly. We're back to starting soon, baby. Okay, all good, all good.
Fuck. How about now?
We're coming
back.
back. I think we're back. Okay.
Fucking hell.
Are we back officially?
Do I need
mean,
to
are we
say that for
back
the
on stream
third
here?
time?
Nah, I think we can chalk that up.
Oh,
Muted in stream. There he is. There he
No,
is.
they can hear
We
you.
get
I
the
think they can
W's
hear
in
Back?
chat, baby. Come on, he's
Ah,
officially back.
fucking hell.
Come on,
God
baby.
damn.
All right.
All right, well, that was
drop the
my
question.
point. Wait, do you want me to go now? Third time.
I mean, as soon
Even
as you go,
faster?
Third time's the charm.
All right. This team, last year, 4 ARs. The SMGs, they weren't ARs last year. They weren't SMGs last year. They were ARs. Usually, TJ is known for his intangibles, his really clutch plays and key moments. Will that come up next year on this game? Maybe, maybe not. Prolu, I don't know if he's a good SMG. He was an AR last year when he filled in on optic, so it's just kind of an unknown. Clayster is really good when he's slaying really strong. Will he be a good slayer this year? He's in his 30s now. I don't know if he's going to be the same player. Temp, will he be able to be the same slayer as he was last year as well on a team that's more structured and can also slay with him? Who knows?
damn boy, you're cracked.
Nice. There we go. There we go.
Fucking hell,
Hopefully,
it
I
was
don't have
better
to
the
repeat
first
mine
time.
3 times.
God.
No, but I'm
Sorry.
saying that Prolu, I don't know if they heard that part, but Prolu, you saying Prolu, you weren't sure how he was on SMG. He fried in Cold War, bro. He was a good SMG player. I don't know what. Do you guys remember what he was ranked in our Breaking Point Challenger list on Cold War? Do you remember Austin?
I do not.
I feel like he would have been like top 10, right?
It must
bring
be
it up.
because the New
I'll
York
take a look.
Academy team were good. Like, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's a good SMG player, and I also know a lot of people think that he's an AR player because he played the flex role in for optic, but he's a natural SMG player, so I think he'd be fine. But I do agree that they are missing like a slayer in the SMG roles. For me, this team comes down to TJ. Like, I think we know what we're getting out of Clay. He's not going to be dropping 1.2s and 1.3s and that. He's going to be more of an accuracy type player. Just lead them, pick up kills when he needs to. Hold down his pre-aim. I think Clayster's a little bit more faster paced than accuracy, but I think for me it's on TJ. Like, I think last year a lot of people were saying he was like a damage dealer, like he was damaging. He was doing all the damage, but he wasn't finishing his kills. Maybe he wasn't playing. I remember Tim said he probably wasn't playing his life as good as he could have. But his damage was incredible. So I think if they can fix that part of his game, they will be decent. But I mean, their ceiling is like top probably 6 at the most at an event. I think if they go any higher than that, then I would love to see that. Especially for Clayster and almost being out of the league, I would love to see him succeed, even if it's not winning an event. I think if you're Paris Legion and you're coming like top 4, that's a win. Like, if you make it to Sunday's Paris Legion, that's a win.
Oh my God, there's no way. Yeah, that's completely out of the question in right now, but not necessarily, but like where they've been the last couple of years.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But if they did that, it'd be cool.
They've got a chance. I mean, I'm actually rooting for them to kind of succeed because they've been trying. I mean, I saw today, I looked in Clayster's Twitter header, and he has a Paris Vegas Legion Twitter header. The logo, his name, the colors. Like, I was like, whoa, there's no way they actually made that for him.
I think that's, I mean, I don't want to take away from Paris Legion, but I think that's because they hired an agency, which is they run their Twitter, they do the graphics, and they hired them in Vanguard. Because the girl that runs the Twitter is actually from like the CDL community. Like, she knows what she's doing. It's cool. Shout out to Death IC. But yeah, that was probably the best thing they did was hiring that agency. Because that looked good on like the socials look good. The socials actually look good, but they just lose, so there's nothing to tweet about. You know what I mean?
It's actually kind of paid for. Yeah, I do agree.
Yeah.
All right, like let's look at a team that lost massively at the start of last year. New York Subliners, baby. They're back. Priest is here. Skies, Kismet, Hydra. We talked about this team a bit more. Like, what do you think about the Priester situation? Like, I don't know. I don't exactly want to say it's his last chance because I don't think it is. But I think there's some players in the league that they're very much in pressure is on type situations. And Priester the last couple of years, it wasn't great on the rocker. And like, he's now on a team that has an awful lot of talent actually. And if he can kind of be the glue to this team being really good, because they have the pieces to be really good. And this might be, when we do the power rankings, one of the tougher teams to place where they should be. But yeah, if it doesn't go well and Priester gets dropped, it's not going to be looking so good. But Sender is there as well, alongside Dureel as coach. And also they got Wardy, which is a bit of a surprise that London or anyone didn't snag him. But maybe Wardy wanted, I mean, apparently Wardy just straight up turned down the London offer or maybe even the Vegas offer to go and sit on the bench here. Interesting decision from him, just because Hydra and Kismet, I wouldn't really expect that duo to get broken up anytime soon. Hydra's not going anywhere. And Kismet, it's like, well, he might change, but they seem to mesh really well. So it's an interesting one for Wardy, I think, as an SMG sub to like choose to go to this team as opposed to potentially even a starting offer. But you know, Vegas could be a death sentence. Thoughts on New York, Crone? We'll work backwards this time.
I mean, I've always been pretty low on Priester, like especially the last couple of years. I feel like most people will probably agree, especially in the community. I don't know about you guys. But I've never been that too big on him since probably like Modern Warfare. BO4 he was obviously incredible. But yeah, I think for me the most important thing about this team is Wardy. Like when they start struggling, how do you fit Wardy into this team? Like I know before Hydra made it to the pro scene, he was like known as like someone that can do it all. So maybe they move him to the flex. I'm not sure if I want to see Hydra on the flex. I'm not sure if Wardy. I'm not sure on Wardy's history. I don't know if he could run an AR. You know, I mean, first of all, we don't even know the meta of the game yet. You know, it could be 3 subs. So, you know, but I don't know. I want to see. I do want to see Wardy coming at some point, and I think that will happen. Just because he was incredible last year, but it's just hard for me to figure out where he fits and what they would have to do to fit him in. You know, if they have him as an AR, Kismet is obviously not going to play an AR, but if they put Wardy in an SMG, it's Hydra to flex is probably like
that
their
could be an
best
option, to be fair, because I think he can fly on a flex. So
yeah, I mean, before he was a pro, before MW, I know he was a flex. Like he was. I remember someone told me that they were like, "Yo, look out for this Hydra dude. Like he's the next Dashy." But that was back when Dashi wasn't like a main AR. Dashi was more of like a use whatever. This was back in BO4. So I don't know. Maybe Hydra could run the flex or Wardy run the flex. I don't know how else you would have to move Skies to main AR. Skies playing main AR.
Skies is main.
Yeah. So I don't know. What about you, Austin?
Personally, I think they can be good. They're really banking on one Priest bouncing back to, you know, the IW, BO4, even the MW at the beginning of the year and at times in the year, he was really good. It's just sometimes he struggled in the matches. He got blamed for a lot of our issues when I thought he was actually a really good player and like flexible on our roster. I thought he was a lot better than people were giving him credit for. But he hasn't had the best like 2 years. And this is like good roster for him to bounce back. I definitely think this is a roster he could easily do that in, but they're banking on him bouncing back, and they're bouncing on Kismet, you know, having the same level that he had last year. And if both of those happen, this team can be at the top, you know, 50%, the top half of the league. If they stumble, there's a couple things I think they could do. Either Wardy could come in for Kismet, and they have like an all-European, you know, SNG line. It depends on who's kind of struggling. If Priest is struggling, personally, I think Hydra plays at a pace that could translate to the AR role pretty well. Similar to like Attach, where if you're a slower SMG on the pace level, not on like the movement level, because you could still have like the cracked movement that makes like it look like you're moving very fast, but on the pace level, I think he could very easily fit into the AR role and be a really good Slayer that fits next to Skies, similar to Awakening. So there's a couple different ways. This roster is actually pretty flexible. So there's a couple different ways you could fix potential errors, but if both of those things click, this team could be very, very good. So I think they could be good. We'll have to see how they do in respawns. Technically, I want to see how they do in respawns, because if they are clicking and have that slaying power to match any teams, but they're also playing pretty correct and, you know, not being allergic to the hill, playing the objectives pretty well, then this team could be one of the top 4 teams in the league. So we'll have to see how they develop this next year.
Yeah, I mean, I touched on this last week, but I feel like on paper this team could be really strong if they're all playing at their best, but it's just like in recent memory, the only reason why I can't see this team doing well is if Priester isn't playing at his best, and that's it. Like, we put in the chat here, is New York Priester's last chance? And I think, yeah, if this team fails, who's going to take a chance on him again? Because it's proven 3 years
Vegas
in a row
time,
that
baby.
it's
I was gonna say you still have one more.
still
We're still
one
Vegas.
tier to drop to. Yeah, well, it's
Yeah,
a good
there is
point.
still a tier below, but maybe there's still. We'll see.
It's just whenever he's playing at his best, the team that he's on is always doing extremely well. Like I remember mid this year when he was dropping like a 1.2, the team looked cracked. They went 5-0. They were going into the LAN looking amazing. Obviously they stumbled at the LAN, didn't place very well. But it's like he was playing strong last year when they won the major in Cold War. He was playing extremely strong. And so it's almost like the team that he's playing on, because he's such a diverse player and can make so many like key moments. I think when he's at his best, it's just like he's an ultimate X factor. But it's kind of like they're banking on that X factor to come through, and I don't know if that's going to happen. But yeah, we touched on it last week, so I don't really have much more to add.
Yeah, I think like out of all the options that they could have got in that role, Priester is probably the one that I would have gone for as well in the situation, just because player that's not going to cause any dramas or controversies, or is going to be a good team player. It's kind of like a low risk option as well to some degree, and has good upside. The other team that we don't have yet is London, and I don't know whether they haven't confirmed the team of Zero, Nasty, Asim, and Paulex just because they are taking their time for some reason, or whether it's because of the whole buyout situation. So Rogue, a bit of a complicated ownership stuff over at London, because you've got
So
Rogue
confusing, bro.
and then you've got Rect Global. Rect Global own London, but Rogue are like under Rect Global's umbrella. But then Rect Global like did the partnership with this like metaverse company that was worth like 500 mil. I don't know how that happened. And now maybe that's off the table because now they're getting effectively sold to Koi, I'm guessing is how you pronounce it, which is the
KOI.
KOI. Okay, we'll just go with that. KOI, esports organization set up by IBAI and the Spanish streamers, and they've been killing it lately. They even got accepted into the Valorant partnership franchise thing. They're bringing in teams all across the world. The Spanish community is built different, but now London, and even like London tweeted out like Buenos Dias or whatever, like they were just having a joking about it because apparently this is going to happen. So like what the hell does this mean? I think even eBay said in a video that they wanted to rebrand the team, but they can't because Activision didn't let them. And whether that's because they missed the deadline, because you remember Vegas wanted to rebrand Legion, but they missed the deadline. And obviously we're after the deadline now. So it's like either Activision have said you can't rebrand because they missed the deadline, or they've said you can't rebrand because we don't want you to rebrand and we want to keep the London Royal Ravens as it is. But this is really interesting. Like as a UK fan, it's a little bit strange because now the UK team is owned by the Spanish, and it's like, well, what's the point in having a Spanish organization owning the UK team? Just take the team to Madrid or Barcelona or something. Like that's the thing to do and actually field a Spanish team. But at the same time, it's like I don't want to lose the UK team. So I'm really confused. I'm conflicted on this one because I want the Spanish scene in, but not necessarily the cost of the UK team. So I don't really know what they're going to do about this, or even if Activision let them move it. But surely they will want to move it. They're not just going to want to keep London as it is if they own it now. So, Crane, thoughts?
I mean, I had the same thoughts as you. Like, I would love to see a Madrid team, bro. Like the Spanish esports fans are crazy. Like they go so hard for their teams and their streamers and everything else, but not at the sacrifice of losing London. That's not something that I would ever want. So I guess if it was to happen, I would want, maybe they move to Madrid and then maybe C9 buys the London team. Because I think they own the Overwatch Spitfire. Do they still own
Yeah,
it?
but they don't want to own the London Spitfire.
They don't want it. They don't want it.
No.
All right. Well, I don't know what would happen there, but I don't think I would want a Madrid team to pop up for the sacrifice of London. I think having London fans is important. But this whole thing was confusing to me, bro. Like I saw it and I was like, I don't speak the language, so I don't know what this guy's saying on stream. And people were like, DM me, like, bro, you need to post about this. And I was like, bro, I don't understand anything he's saying. I don't have a translator. Like, geez, I actually DM'd Vikul, and I was like,
Really?
bro, what is he saying in this? And he was like, bro, this is what he's saying, blah blah blah. And I was like, all right. And then I had to read like 1,000 different articles to try to get a tweet out about it, but I don't know. It was real confusing. Like I was trying to figure out who's the owner. Like Rab was saying, is it Rect, is it Rogue, is it is it the metaverse? I don't know nothing about the metaverse, so I don't know. It was confusing, bro. But I'm not sure. I know I did speak to a few people, and they said, because I was like, oh, if if he does watch parties, if we go back to Twitch next year, like that'll be good for us. But then they were saying like, nah, he's a because he's a former League of Legends caster. I'm not sure what League of Legends he did it for, but they said nah, he probably won't. Like, he probably
don't know about
won't
that.
watch party. I don't know, bro. Like, why
You
would you
never
want to
know.
watch
I mean, if
party?
it's his team,
Respectfully to London, bro. Like, I don't think they're gonna win that many games. I mean, they will win games, but it's like, imagine watching London at an event and they just place top 8 every event. It's like, why would you want to watch that?
Well, a lot of these, I don't think you'll just watch party your own team. You'll watch party the whole thing. So I think like
Yeah, that's true.
that,
That's true. That's true.
and I think the league would be pushing for that fucking hella hard because having a Spanish commentator, first off, Spanish commentators make everything sound fucking so intense and awesome. It's so like you're 100% gonna want that, and he's got one of the biggest followings on Twitch. Plus, he's an owner of a team. So it's like you stack that all up. The league's probably gonna toss money at him to do co-streams if they do
Yeah, I mean,
that
if they toss money at him for sure, 100%.
yeah. And so like I personally think that they didn't rebrand because it was too late, too close to the season. Honestly, I think next year we will have a Spanish team, probably either in Madrid or Barcelona. I think this kind of links up with the other article that came out. I think that we'll be talking about soon is the expansion, and I think this paves a path for us to get a Spanish team and then an expansion get maybe one or two English teams. So that's what I'm hoping for at least. I think you're going to see this team turn into a Spanish team. I think probably next season as well, you're going to see an all Spanish roster. Because I believe in Valorant, aren't they trying to do an all Spanish roster? And then the French team is trying to do all French in Valorant.
Oh yeah, like at least French speaking. I think they're maybe getting like Scream in the Vera and stuff, but yeah, it's definitely a thing. Like the Spanish team got hella supported in Valorant as well. Like they got 3 teams out of 10 in the whole of Europe, Middle East, and Africa as Spanish teams, which was like a big surprise to a lot of people actually. And they were one of them. So it's really cool, but I just don't exactly know what it means. And you raised a good point about like the expansion. And we might as well just dive into that now because there was an article that came out with Daniel Sy, and he was talking about like effectively that there's still a lot of interest in expansion. Now, whether the CDL has to vet the potential investors, whether they have the money, whatever they want to do. But I mean, the way it effectively works, if they can pay the money, like that's kind of how it is. But the money thing is where the controversy will come in, because I'm sure the new teams don't want to pay a massive premium what the first teams paid, but all the original teams want them to pay more because that means that they can tell their investors that, oh, our asset just went up in price, as if we're making some sort of return. So that's kind of the question. And the Daniel Sy put it that they're kind of evaluating, which teams they might want and what cities what locations they might want them in. And I'm sure that is me. They're smart enough to realize that the Spanish community and even potentially South American community or whatever could be viable options down the line. So yeah, I guess I'll throw it to you, Lion. Like, what do you think? Because look, we've talked every year about expansion. It never seems to happen. It surely will happen eventually, but it's an interesting timing if London are going elsewhere, as you said, Austin. Like maybe another org needs to come in and pick up the London spot, because they surely don't want the London spot to go. So maybe after this season, it is time for it to happen, especially if some other ownership changes are being made.
Yeah, Austin, you touched on next year potentially moving to Madrid, this London team. But if 2 English teams came in, would that leave the league at 14 teams?
No, I think you would see an expansion of 4, with 2 of them being English, and then 2 of them being in NA.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then that's fine. Because I was thinking like 14 teams would be so strange. How would that work with like brackets and all that? But yeah, I mean, we've talked about this so much. I don't really have much to add until we get like some information on it. So I think I've always wanted to see an Asian team in there as well.
Tokyo, baby. That's what we want.
Yeah. An Australian team eventually. The only problem with an Australian team is that, one, the talent in Australia isn't, probably going to compete with the teams in the US, as well as the fact that I don't think there's enough money within the Australasian region to be able to like fund a CDL team unless they take a similar route to like Paris Legion, but they still have to pay for that entry fee or would there be, you know, an acquisition that would be, you know, less costly? I don't know. And so, yeah, I just think that for a world league, we need teams more around the world. And right now it's just NA and then 2 European teams that aren't really European.
One's gone.
Well,
So
yeah.
there's one left.
There's one, yeah. And then it might now be Spanish. So it's like, you know, I think we need the English fans because as we've seen in the past, that London event has always been, you know, the most hype. And, you know, people still calling for champs in London and all that. I think that'll be an insane event. And so we need British teams in the league for sure. And there's a lot of British talent, like the talent in the league right now in Britain. I mean, how many events have British players won in the last like 4 or 5 years? Like a good like 3 or 4 events. So, you know, we need those players.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about expansion every year, bro. Like it's almost like a headache for me because every year, literally as soon as champs finish, people start DMing me, "Yo, expansion teams? Is it gonna be expansion?" I'm like, bro, I don't know. But I did like look at their article a little bit, but to be honest, like Daniel was just talking without really saying much. You know,
he's so good at that. I gotta respect.
Yeah, man. Like it's a talent, bro. Like it's a talent to be like that, to answer questions without actually saying anything. You know, so he just said the basic, you know, the basic things like, yeah, of course we want expansions. Yeah, people were interested, blah blah blah. But until it happens, and I don't know if the Microsoft deal would like maybe change things up. Maybe I don't know if Microsoft won't. I don't know. Maybe the Microsoft deal will affect things a little bit. Maybe they have to wait till that's finished, that's done, or those types of things. I have no idea. But you know, every year we talk about this, and every year it just reminds me that Overwatch League was first when Call of Duty should have been first, and they have 20 teams and we have 12. They had 2 World Cups. You know, they should have been us.
Yeah, I
Should have been
feel you
us.
on that.
You
It's a
salty
good
every
question I'm
time.
seeing in the chat actually, because I was just thinking when people were talking about Newcastle, like what would happen if that like Saudi thing, what's it called? Like the Savvy Gaming Group or something. Like what if they come in and say, yeah, we'll buy a team, we'll buy like 4 teams. Obviously they won't be able to do that. But like I wouldn't be surprised if these like, you know, Middle Eastern people with all the money that are buying up all the sports teams are also interested. I don't know what Activision would say to that, because Activision they do just love their money, don't they? And
They love it.
you know,
They love it.
as much as it potentially wouldn't be a good look, I don't know if they can help themselves, but only if they really make it work. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Lando Norris has got a lot of money, but I don't think he wants to splurge 25 mil on the CDL spot. But yeah,
Whoever
King
the
of Bodies
salesmen are at Activision, bro, they got to be the best shit talkers in the world, bro. I don't know how they got 12 or more than 12 people interested in spending 25 mil on a franchise spot, bro. Like, Jesus.
Well, wasn't
Geniuses.
there like articles that they're not gonna end up being 25 mil?
A lot
I
of the
hope
teams
so.
haven't
I
paid the
hope
money.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So personally, I think what they're gonna do is kind of
With
mix
discount?
I think what they're basically going to end up doing is do a little bit of what Valorant is doing right now and just go for what's going to bring the most amount of value to the league. And 2, I think we're going to end up with a Halo kind of format where you have 16 teams that automatically qualify for pools, and then 4 open bracket teams come in and complete the pools. So in Halo, they have 5 teams per pool. So they have 4 pools, so 20 teams. 16 are like the partner teams or the teams that qualify from before. And then the 4 that come in are from open bracket. And then there's 4 that also come in that go right into the losers bracket, because those are the ones that come from the losers bracket of the open bracket. So overall, then that means you get 16 pro teams and you get 8 open bracket teams. I think basically we're gonna end up heading to that eventually. It's just inevitable in my opinion that we're gonna end up that way. They tried doing the professional North American sports way of having these franchises, which I'm fine with. I think in the long run that might be able to work, but in the short term it's not working. You see other esports are franchising and doing it their own way, and it's working. So I think they're going to steal a little bit of each, and then hopefully in the long run do a little bit of what like League of Legends is doing with different regions that are each franchised. And I hope they move towards that route in the long term instead of just one big league that's just an NA, do like divisions that are in each region, and then have like a playoffs at the end, like mid-season playoffs, and then a COD champs at the end of the year. So that's my hope and want in Call of Duty. We'll just see if it ends up going that way.
I mean, what you said there reminded me of basically what the Black Ops 4 season was, right? Because Black Ops 4 was basically pseudo franchising. Like there were the 16 teams, but but they also kind of had I mean, it was like the open event was alongside, but it was kind of a bit of both, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously, Activision must be seeing the fact that Valorant are doing this whole franchising thing with a new twist with the partnership stuff, where they kind of get to choose, and there's a relationship there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. One leak we've got to talk about is Advanced Warfare 2, because I got a bit excited about this, and I don't really think that I should be getting excited about this, but until it's actually official. And even when it is official, even if it is, I actually just don't have faith that they will deliver the goods, because we know how much Call of Duty's changed. But anyway, an article comes out from Valve, usually pretty reliable leaker on this type of stuff, saying that Sledgehammer are basically got permission to do Advanced Warfare 2. 11 years on, it would be in 2025. This is a bit strange just because Modern Warfare 2 is a 2-year game. There was news yesterday that Treyarch's game is also going to be a 2-year game, which surely would put Advanced Warfare 2 at 2026, not 2025. But honestly, who knows? My perspective is like, we've got to go back to jetpacks at some point. Things will go in cycles. When Titanfall came out in 2014, all the rage was about jetpacks and advanced movement. COD did it for 3 years. They maybe did it 1 year too long because Infinite Warfare did not get a good reception. But eventually it's going to go back to that, right? We see games like Apex where you can do a bit more with the movement and Fortnite, of course, to a certain degree. But the games are kind of trending in that direction. And I think that Activision is smart enough to know that at some point a return to a different style of movement will be necessary. Now, how long they'll do that for, who knows? And if Advanced Warfare 2 does happen, my concern is that they won't even do jetpacks in the same way. Like, it will be toned down massively because they've got to appeal to the casual players. And that was the best thing about those games, is you could absolutely shit on the noobs with the movement. And I don't know if they'll really want that to be the case. I mean, you could just turn on people left, right, and center. It doesn't matter. You run around the corner. This guy's camping in the corner. Dash, double jump. Like he's been absolutely smoked, and he's probably rage quitting the game. But he learns his lesson, doesn't he? And he looks at me and he thinks, "Damn, that guy is absolutely cracked. Let me grind the game to get better." That's what you want. All these kids are snowflakes nowadays. They can't take a loss. Anyway, a bit of a rant. But yeah, so that's my kind of concern there on Advanced Warfare 2. It's not even been confirmed. We don't even know what the Treyarch game is between now and then. But I thought some quite promising, at least discussions, that we might be getting something a little, not exactly radical, but changing the mold a little bit. Because, I mean, look, they know full well, Activision, that Warzone's got a bit stale, I'm guessing. They're trying to reignite it, of course, with Warzone 2, but over time, the same movement does get stale. We've seen it in Call of Duty in the past, and it'll happen again. And they'll have to switch it up. So what do you think, Lion?
I think, first of all, if there was a battle royale with Advanced Warfare movement, that's amazing in itself. Like, crazy. I think bringing back... Yeah, Blackout with the Black Ops 3 movement.
Yeah, bro. It was so
crazy.
fun, bro.
But Advanced Warfare movement was even more radical than that. So it's like, that could be fucking amazing. I think bringing back a game mode like Free Run with Advanced Warfare movement would be sick. I think having uplink in the game is a win regardless. I remember someone saying that. It's like, who cares about the fucking jetpacks? Think about how uplink could come back to competitive. Like, that's huge. Shit, what else? I had a few more thoughts. I think if they took away skill-based matchmaking, that could be amazing.
Never gonna happen.
No, it won't happen. Because
they introduced it in Advanced Warfare 1, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. But that was, I think, the first game where I really... Because I enjoyed Black Ops 2, I enjoyed Ghosts. I wasn't really like a big player, I was more of a casual player. And then Advanced Warfare came out and I grinded that game like crazy. Got like 80,000 kills on the game. I fucking love playing TDM, just running it straight, TDM
is a real man's game mode, and I will stand by that.
It is.
That's how I learned how to play. That's where I learned how to play Call of Duty, bro. My BO3, I have like 100,000 kills in TDM.
I only played TDM on those games. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think having the customization come back would be amazing. That game was extremely strong in a lot of areas, and I think, you know, it gets kind of undermined for the movement itself, but I thought the guns were extremely fun to use. How like the bow had like a really fast fire rate, then it slowed down. I thought that was quite unique. The ASM1 was the opposite way around, it was slow, then went fast. And so it was just like, oh no, sorry, reversed. And so it's just like, I really love that game. And so even if it is 2026, I'll be 28 by that time. I probably won't end up playing it, but just like watching it for competitive, I can definitely see myself like grinding my teeth into that one.
Yeah, bro, when this news came out, I woke up at 4:30 that morning because my son woke up or something, and I saw it and I was like, oh shit, I'm about 4 hours late to the league. So I tweeted out at 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. Then I went to sleep, woke up 2 hours later, and Charlie Intel was like, nah, it's not happening. I was like, oh, bro, come on. I want to play. I didn't play Advanced Warfare, so I want to play this real bad, but I feel like it will be completely different to what you guys played, what we all played in Advanced Warfare. You know, when they develop games now, they're real big on catering to, like, you know, the Timmys and the dads and the, you know, the all those types of people. So I feel like it would be a lot different to what we remember, but it would still be good. Like, jetpacks is still super fun and competitive. I love the jetpack era, especially competitive. But I think the way they could balance it and the way they have balanced like jetpacks was specialist. You know, because a lot of them don't take like a lot of skill. You know, you just push a button and you do some crazy, you know, Overwatch ult type thing. But I know maybe they have specialists in it this time. I don't know. I don't think they had specialists in it in AW. They didn't, right? Maybe they do that or like a, you know, like a totally different specialist type thing where it was a lot easier for people to get kills. But I don't know. I think they would probably take out the dashing. I feel like that was a little bit too much for the casual. But I hope it happens, man. And a battle royale jetpack like Lion said would be incredible because I had so much fun in Blackout Jetpack. I don't know if you guys played it, but it was so fun. It was so fun, and even like what was the? Oh no, when they had the grappling hook on it, that was what was cool. Like, it was super fun, just having movement things like that. And I've been playing Fortnite a little bit lately because Vanguard's dead. And all the movement things on there, like, super fun, super fun. Like, I feel like that's what makes a battle royale a lot of fun. And this slow pace of this campy style battle royale is like getting pretty stale. I think people are not enjoying it. So I don't know. That's all I have to say about it.
I mean, personally, AW, a lot of people look at that with the rose tinted glasses, because the sniping was pretty shit in that. Because there was only one sniper and it had like one bullet in it, and you would shoot it, and then you had to literally stick another bullet in and then shoot.
Yeah, bro, but the
Ours was
thermal
hype, though.
snipe,
Yeah,
snipe
thermal
was so
was
cheeky.
the thermal
You
actually
could
was
keep
good.
shooting forever. That's what you gotta think. Like,
Yeah.
you put the bullet in, and then you could keep firing, and like you never
Yeah.
had to reload. You know.
It was basically pay to win because in ranked mode you had to get the obsidian steel
It was
bow,
actually so broken.
and you had to get the ASM1. What was that one called? I can't
Speakeasy.
remember.
Easy.
Speakeasy. People like that game because it introduced uplink and it had this new mechanic, but the new mechanic was even pretty clunky. So that game actually, I think it could be better now. Crone, you were saying like how like you missed the original one and it might not be as good. I think they could upgrade it like a lot. It never really had a true ranked mode. It never really you had pay to win. Yes, the maps were pretty good, but the movement was kind of clunky compared to past jetpack games. And yeah, there was a lot you could upgrade on that front. So I'm really excited because I like jetpacks. Personally, I think that specialist done right can be very, very good. Think of all of like some of the best competitive games right now. You have League of Legends, you have Dota, you have Valorant, you have all these games where you're selecting agents or characters that have a role, that have certain abilities. That is in every big esport. If Call of Duty can do specialists good, not just have 5 specialists and that's it, but have different agents that each have their own different roles and abilities that are actually non-fucking OP like they normally are, then I feel like that can be good for Call of Duty if they mix that in with some jetpacks and do it correctly. But I do have a feeling I don't think they're really going to do it because the casual community is going to fucking hate it. I saw a clip on the Modern Warfare 2 Reddit where it was just a guy strafing, and the guy posted, "Should he be able to move like this? Because he strafes past his bullets." And so I personally don't think the casual community would buy it or like it. And sales really direct how Call of Duty's going to go. It's always going to be that way. So I would love it to happen, but I'm going to wait to see further confirmation. But on the Treyarch side, I was actually pumped that the Treyarch rumor. I think I cannot wait for Treyarch. Personally, I think the only one of Call of Duties that would do really, really well over a 2-year cycle is Treyarch, because I have enough confidence in them. If MW2 goes down the path where year 1 is all this fresh content, and then year 2 is kind of like a revamped Modern Warfare 2, like that would be amazing. So I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic, I'll say, for now.
And then with the 2-year cycle with Treyarch, what sort of COD would you want? Like, I'm thinking
Black
Yeah,
Ops
go
3
for it.
remastered, baby.
Black Ops 3 remastered.
Yeah, for 2 years.
I would like
yeah.
a BO4 one, if I'm being realistic. Obviously, I want BO3, but that's not going to happen. But I would like a BO3 type game.
Yeah,
Mm.
I can see
BO4,
that.
sorry. I don't know what I just said.
You said BO3, but yeah, BO4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
BO4, yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, I do wonder what they'll do there, because this is what I was thinking as well. We know nothing about Trek's game, and if they've said to Sledgehammer, like, you know what, this whole jetpack thing, going back to that movement, let's give it a go. Like, you know, why wouldn't they have necessarily said something similar to Trek, right? Like, if that is a consideration that they're looking to go back to more advanced movement, then why would it not happen, you know, a year or two earlier in Trek's game? Not necessarily saying they'll go back to like wall running and everything, but as you say, it might be more of a Black Ops 4 style where there's a bit more you can do, like with grappling and stuff. Because that was almost like a hybrid jetpack game, I thought, Black Ops 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
The way the movement worked. So
That one's kind of like advanced movement. So like that's what advanced movement is to me. And then I think jetpacking is like, I would say it's just a jetpack movement. But Black Ops 4 could, just because of the way you were able to grapple, you were able to really like slide off of ledges, and the movement was more fluid, and you were able to do more on the movement side, on the skill based side. Like the skill gap was bigger on that side. So that was more advanced movement, and then jetpacks is jetpack movement. So I hope we get more advanced movement in the future. Not this camera movement right now that MW has, because I don't really think that's advanced movement. I think that's all camera. I think that's all like just for show.
It's
like,
pretty.
I don't want that. I want more like advanced movement mechanics, other than just sliding and running.
We need a competitor for Call of Duty, because it used to be Battlefield, and that's where all like you want to go play like slow and tactical, you go play that game. But now they're all playing COD because there's nothing else to play, and it's like, bruh. We need to find the game that Aches is working on to take over, because I actually looked at a little bit of that, and it literally looks like Call of Duty. Like,
oh, for sure, that's all they're going for.
Yeah,
all the games
so
are trying to
I
kill
don't know.
COD. That's how it's always been.
Hopefully they, you know, it gives a little competition to Activision and Call of Duty. Because at the moment they don't have no competition in terms of like a Call of Duty war style. Like, they can do what they want, and people are going to play it because there's nothing else to play for the people that like playing those games.
Yeah,
So
we need to get like Prim to go pro or something in X Defiant. That would be comedy.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. Yeah, agreed. We've got some hope. I'm gonna do one more topic before we do the power rankings. I want to discuss quickly on the substitutes, because there's some question right now on like where the coaches are gonna go, what the subs are gonna be. We know where Sender's going. Optic are still lacking some coaching staff over there. Toronto, we don't know who their head coach is going to be. Mayhem's potentially getting promoted, but like they lost Marky B. And even we don't know who's going to be built around Marky B at LAG anyway. And then the Gunless situation is a bit interesting, because Gunless has been tweeting he went to New York on like to watch the Mets game, and then he tweeted something that he was like, my mental health is just chalked in Dallas. I hate living there. Like, I want to live on the East Coast again. So it was interesting, just because most teams are based in Dallas. Like, if you want to join a team, you're going to have to live there probably. But he doesn't seem very eager to do that. But if he was a sub somewhere, he doesn't necessarily have to live with the team. If he was on like an academy roster or something. But I mean, it's better if he does. But what do you think, Austin?
I'll probably shoot down the New York thing. Is his favorite team for baseball is the New York Mets. And it's like playoffs for baseball right now. That's why he was in New York.
Yeah. I wasn't saying he's going to be joining New York or anything. I was just saying like his quote was interesting. Also doesn't make that much sense to Johnny York given the circumstances.
Yeah,
Also,
exactly.
they are based in Texas. But I don't really know, like, where was Gunner's going to go? Because I thought that Optic made a fair bit of sense for him. At least it was worth a shot, maybe. But that's probably not going to happen now. And also, a lot of teams still lack coaching staffs. So I was thinking Gunner's, like, there's some potential for, even like LA Thieves, or I don't exactly know, one of the LA teams. It's a bit strange. We think Pristini might be the sub for LAG. That probably makes it quite a lot of sense. Even
Joe
though we think
Deceives.
they've got Joe Deceives as well. Yeah, maybe Joe Deceives is going to be the sub, but like Pristini, I'd be surprised if he doesn't have some connection with that team. You know what I mean?
I
Just
think
'cause it seems to
Academy,
make too
like
much sense.
I would assume that they're gonna be there. So their team is let me have a look. Ghosty, Pristini. Oh wait, no. Jokes. Ignore everything I just said. I thought Joe Deceives was on their team. Carry
Okay,
on.
he's not.
What team is he
Maybe
on?
Pristini elsewhere then. But I mean, yeah. What's your thoughts on this, Austin? Like, because I thought by about now, and we have got some announcements on substitutes, but we haven't got as many as I thought we might get. Because I thought teams would probably be moving kind of quickly to try and lock down some of the big name subs. I mean, I don't know. There's still guys like Classic out there who's always going to be a solid sub
We have
player.
we have 5 announced at the moment, and we have Scraps rumored as London, and
Oh, we have
Joey
a few, I guess.
Deceives as Lag. So I mean
7
that's
there, right?
7. Yeah, but yeah,
Uh,
like I said last time, real quick. If I was a team, I'd probably wait for the pro am and just see, who's flying there. That's about it. I'll wait for that.
Agreed. Yeah, like honestly, until we see how good they are, I don't care about subs. Doesn't really make a difference to me.
I also think most of the top tier subs have been like signed right now. Like Minnesota has Real and Fame, and Wardy and Beans are already signed. So I'm trying to think who else. There's a lot that's signed right now, and more of the unknowns, but with high potential, are there. And I think that's exactly what teams are waiting for, is the pro-am to really gauge where players are at and then take it. But I would be shocked if most of the subs aren't filled out by that point. I think only a couple teams would probably wait to that point, and then from there, I think you might see teams be more proactive, because teams in the past, they're signing subs just to sign subs, and then they never really see the light of day, and then you end up signing all these players to bring into your roster anyways, and you're not even using your subs. So I think teams are gonna be more efficient on that front, not only just to save budget, but to just be more efficient on that side and actually scout players. Especially because I think it's interesting that even if the expansion, if that was just a random conversation that happened, but the fact that that got brought up and you start hearing about potential academy teams all over the place, I think it's like correlation, because what I think in the future is going to happen is, if you do have expansion, you're going to see a lot of academy teams, because teams are going to try to sell those players onto the new teams that get brought into expansion. So I hope we see a lot of academy teams. I hope we see a lot of good substitutes. I hope we see players get actually supported who are at the top echelon of challengers. And yeah, I'm actually really excited to see how the pro-am it works out, because I think the pro-am is really good for gauging how amateur talent is against the professional talent. And yeah, I think that's gonna be really, really like a lot of fun to see who actually gets picked up from that, because even when they did the scouting grounds in what was it, MW?
Cold War, they definitely did it.
Cold War, yeah.
Yeah,
A
Cold War was the
player,
game they did it.
I think like two players got signed off of that, 2 or 3 players. So, one of them was like Diamond Con, for instance. He had a really good scouting grounds, and of course he's on the radar before that, but he has a really good scouting grounds. The coaches, like, I don't know, I used that scouting grounds to actually get to know a lot of the players, because I didn't know a lot of like the EU and like lower, like top lower, but like NA players. So it was really nice to get to that front. But there were players that were signed right after that weren't signed going into that. So who knows? That could be the same thing that happens with this pro-am.
Yeah, or breaking point next, baby. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about right there, baby.
Good plug.
Yeah, yeah, good job, lad. We appreciate that. All right, fantastic work for the boys. Okay, cool. That's pretty much the key topics I wanted to run through. It's now time to go through the power rankings, baby. Bring this up on screen, Omar, because we're gonna have a good time with this. We've got different tiers. I think that it's wiser, really, not to necessarily do just S, A, B, C, D, or whatever. Like, because you don't. it's difficult to separate into that many tiers before the season begins. But this is going to be, I think, what we expect to happen at Raleigh, right? Should we do it like that? What's our expectations for the first tournament? We've got top tier contenders for the win, dark horse teams, and then we've got the Vegas Legions home, which they probably will still be there, but it depends. It depends on what you guys think about the bottom tier. But to me, they are still there. But I do think they're joined. I don't think they're there solo, but I think they have to be down there. Should we just go from left to right? I mean, we've got phases sitting there.
Phase first.
Yeah, I mean,
we might
that's
as well just go left to right here because it's in a bit of a jumble order. So I think
Favourites.
this is good.
They're
I mean,
favourites, of course.
They've got to be right up there. I don't even think we need to think about it. Austin, you don't need to persuade us. They're going straight up top. We can rank within the groups if we necessarily want to, but
yeah, we'll
Phase
do
do
will
that on
always
the
seem to
second
be
go
up
around.
there.
We should do.
Yeah.
We should put them into order, like into, categories and then order.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Vegas, I'm not going to comment. What do you guys think?
Happy to be here. Easy.
They're
I
so
don't
happy
think-
to be there.
I don't think that dark horses to win anything. I don't think they're even dark horses to make Sunday, but I would do happy to be here.
Yeah.
If they had an SMG duo that I was confident in, I'd be feeling a bit. But I've got too many questions about this team to put them any higher. It's just too competitive this season. Okay,
Yeah,
Boston.
pretty good teams.
I mean,
I'm
They're
feeling
nice.
dark horses. Like then, I don't think they're going to be a contender. I think they're probably a slight upgrade from the start of last year, like on paper. But that doesn't mean necessarily I think they're going to be better because that team last year was like came out of nowhere and started off the season really strong. And I don't see that happening 2 years in a row. So I think they're going to be like top 8, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
this
agree
is
with the
like-
dark horse too.
they've got to be. This team is 8th or 9th. They're just one of the two, and I don't know. But like I feel like they're going to be either there, which to me is dark horse territory. Like they did well last year with the roster they had, and they still have that potential in the roster. So I think that they're more of a dark. They're definitely not any higher than dark horses. Like we can rule that out immediately.
I gotta say
Yeah, I'd
though,
say dark horse.
they are. I think they're substantially better than last year. At the start of last year compared to now. 'Cause
Agree.
you
I
got
agree.
you take Capsule and then Vivid, and I think everyone would take Vivid in that battle, right? And then you have TJ and then Awakening, and I think Awakening, even though TJ did have some really good moments last year and is good at S&D, Awakening is a major upgrade there in that department, at least right now
Yeah.
in terms of like slaying ability and that flex role of what they need. So I think they are better at this moment than they were last season. It's just
100% better. I agree.
I don't think they're going to catch people unprepared right off the rip. I feel like they're going to be one of the teams that people are more prepared for, and they could definitely move up to contenders depending on how like they lock in and how the chemistry is on that roster.
I do rate their like coaching stuff as well. Like the fact they've got Zed and Dens over there. I think that's a good asset to have with that perspective of their team. So yeah, I'm hoping that they do well, but to me they're clear dark horse. Florida is a weird one.
Yeah, this one's hard for me because I want to put them in dark horse, but I know most of the community thinks that they're shit. Like happy to be here. I don't know. What do you guys think? Because I would put them in dark horses, but I don't think that if I was going to put them in dark horses, they say there's 4 here, that'd probably be 4th in dark horses. But I don't know. That's just me.
I would put them at the beginning of happy to be here. I know we're not doing order right now, but I would do happy to be here because I think they are a good S&D team, but we need to see how they are in respawns. If they are lackluster in respawns, they're gonna struggle a bit. But I would put them. I rate them on the fringe of dark horse to happy to be here, but probably at the top of happy to be here.
Yeah. I mean, in the past, they've always been at dark horse level where it's like they'll win against
never
a team
win.
they shouldn't.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
They never win a tournament. They can upset teams, you know. I didn't really mean to
Yeah,
cut
but
you
is
off
that
there.
a dark horse though? I mean, Modern Warfare. But I
Maybe.
feel
Yeah,
like
true.
last 2 years, yeah, they've been that team that can upset anyone, and I think that's a little bit more than happy to be here. I think that's right in between. So I think Austin was right.
I think they got a lot of good pieces though. They got Mike, who's always going to be a good leader and good at S&D. And then you have I rate Vickle pretty high on the SMG side. I think he's going to be one of the main like runners for the Rookie of the Year this year. And then if Havoc and Brack can play at a high level, they can definitely move up into Dark Horse. But I think for now, we start conservative and then be surprised by them. I don't want to set the bar too high and be disappointed by them. But I think they could be higher than I'm definitely think they should be higher than what everyone else has been treating them. Goddamn 100 to 1 odds while on a 2 unannounced rosters are almost double the odds of them, double higher up. Like,
yeah,
I would love to see them bring in
agree.
another coach too. Sorry to butt in. I'd love to see them bring in another coach, assistant coach. I don't know if they will, but I hope they do. I feel like they need that.
I doubt they will, but I would suggest that too. I feel like that's something where they will probably not be there on the slang level of some of the higher teams. So that means you have to be there on the creative level and how you play the game. And it's going to be a lot of weight on Willet's shoulders, where a little bit more help could go a long way for him, I bet.
Yeah, I reckon like this is the way to do it. I agree. I'm not quite sure I'd put them into Dark Horse. To me, like there's 9 teams, and then to me there's a clear bottom 3. I think the Florida are getting very harshly dealt with by a lot of people because I actually think they'll pick up more points than both of the teams that I want to put below them. But I don't necessarily think that on the whole they'll be a better team in terms of contending for any sort of tournament win. Like they're a team that can again win 1 or 2 matches in a tournament bracket and maybe sneak a top 6, but they're not going to go any further than that. I mean, like it can happen on a fluke like an LAG where they just win all the searches and win, but it's probably not going to happen again. So I think like there's a clear bottom 3 in my opinion, which is why I think I'd be inclined to do this as well. Let's do LAG then. So I mean, I guess I'll lead off and say I think they should be in the Dark Horse category somewhere or another. I'm not convinced in this team enough to put them as contenders yet. There's too many other good teams that deserve that spot over LAG. Yes, they've got RCTs, but that core 3 last season was not good, and maybe RCTs can just extract something from them. But until I see it, I think I'm gonna be a bit skeptical.
Yeah, I wouldn't even leave them sniff contenders on this if I'm being honest. Like I don't know, I don't really have too much stock into this team. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this team, but even Dark Horses to me is like I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a hater, but if I would put them probably I guess we'll see where they line up in the Dark Horses tier because I would definitely put them down the bottom end.
I guess it's just I need to know how punishing the spawns are going to be. If this team can just run around and just punish people, just like outclassing them by like speed and just cranking it up to 10 on that level, then I feel like they could definitely be higher than that. But if the spawns are really punishing and they take these risks and obviously get punished and then have to run a really far way to get back to the hill or you know what I mean, then that's going to hurt this LAG team. I rate Alec really high. I still believe Alec's one of the best ARs, like main ARs in the league. He's going to be really a great leader for this team and hopefully like calm them down and start like playing more fundamental between these 3 players. But I would put them conservatively in the Dark Horses to start the year and then it's the same thing as Florida. Put them here and then be like pleasantly surprised if they perform higher than that level.
100%. Like I think bottom of Dark Horse is the fairest place because I think they're slightly above, the expectations for Legion in Florida and London, most likely.
Yeah, it's interesting to see like what we do with New York in a second here. But okay, LA Thieves. This to me is really interesting because the guys on the flank were adamant that Thieves have to be number 1. I don't think that's the case. We're ranking these teams how good they're going to be at Major 1. Now, whether they are up there with FaZe, I think is you can definitely understand it. I just have some interesting questions because it took this team a long time to get good last season. They're going to stick to the same roster, obviously, probably the whole year as they did last time out. And it worked for them, but it took them a while to figure out, okay, how to play the game as a team, where the teamwork needs to be. And that was what won them champs in the event before Major 4, and that's not something you're going to get overnight as soon as the game launches. So I would be surprised if LA Thieves are the best team coming out of the gate. I'd be pretty damn surprised if that's the case. I think they'll be very good, but I think that FaZe always have that edge in my mind. So, questions like I don't think Thieves are number one. The question is, do they belong in the absolute ultra S tier, which I think is probably also justified, just because they did legit just go back to back and look like the greatest team by far. But also, you know, do they just go in the contenders with a load of other teams and at the top of the contenders? Maybe, maybe not. I could go either way, honestly.
I would put them contenders too. I feel like they're a team that they need. When the first event of every year, I swear to God, it's just like whoever can slay the hardest wins. Like there's not that much teamwork compared to like champs, where it's like, you know,
Wait,
teams are just.
Toronto just won the first event this year.
That's true.
Yeah, and they fell off massively though. So
Yeah.
it's like it's always a bit, you know, the first event is always
sketchy.
suspect, especially when it's early. I do agree.
Yeah, it's a good point, Austin. But I would still put them in contenders. I just feel like they'll be a lot better at the end of the year than what they will be at the start of the year. But I would put them in contenders.
I'm always in the camp that when you win a world championship, you always start number one the next year. That's just my thing. I think what they did last year was pretty amazing. I would put them in the GOATs, but I think they are not going to be as good as what they'll be at the end of the year, because I feel like this team strives, like is at their top level when they figure out their pacing. And I think this game, once it's going to take them a little bit, but once they're able to do that, that's when they're going to hit their top level again. Because last year they kind of struggled with like the pacing of Envoy and Kenny and Octane, but once they figured out how they want to do that and how they want to approach the game, that's when they hit that high level. So I feel like you're going to see the same kind of like build up this season, where they're going to start off not at the same high as last year, but just out of respect, I would always put them in the GOATs, just because of what they did this last season, and because I still think on merit they are a easily just still top 3 team in the game, top 2.
I mean, I would only say that maybe once has a team won champs and then being the best team starting the next year. And that would be FaZe last year and this year. Like I other than that, who's been, you know, back to back on a different game, won the world championships and looked the best team the next year, like the start of the year?
Like, easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, apart from those two,
really
it's pretty damn rare if you think about it.
It is.
Even like Optic, you know.
Or Optic went into World War II, and then they looked amazing up until they got to winners final at the first event. What was it, Dallas? CW Dallas 2018, and then they got 3-0'd twice. And then suddenly it was like
Splice or something. They got 3-0 by, didn't they?
Yeah. And so it's like I don't know. I wouldn't put them straight at the top again. I think if we look at the precedents from the last year, is that they were like top 8 and then slowly found their way up until the end of the year. I like this
as well, because it's a bit of a hot take from us, so I like it.
To be fair, they had the highest average placement across all 6 tournaments last year.
Yeah, they did well. I mean, they did, like, they came top 4 at the first event last season as well, at the kickoff, because they beat Optic. Like, people were kind of surprised. And like I predicted last week, Thieves are going to go back-to-back champs wins, and they're going to win champs again. So I do like this Thieves team, but I'm also of the opinion that at the start of the season, it's very difficult to maintain that level. And, you know, how comfortable will they get to a certain degree? You know, I don't know. Are they really going to hit the ground running?
Should we put them in between favorites and contenders? Like in that middle, kind of like how we did to Florida, like in between?
We could chuck the rest in first and then see if we still think that.
Okay.
Let's do London. That's easy.
Happy to be here.
Yep.
In the chat today.
What did the flank have them on? Because I know they're big on a seam.
They had London in the tier above in like C, but to me, this London team actually might be the worst team in the league. Like, and I'd love to not say that, but man, I don't know. There's some promising pieces here, but I just don't understand really what they've done in terms of the players they've let go, the players they're bringing in. They need Nasty to be an absolute superstar. You might get, again, a good couple of months out of a seam. You probably do. But do you get a good full season out of a seam? You probably don't. Zero is a good IGL and AR, but, well, he's a good AR. I'm not necessarily sure he's such a good IGL in terms of putting him with younger players. Doesn't necessarily seem to deliver the results always. in a land situation, the composure isn't there. Maybe Asim helps bring that. Porlex is a solid player, don't get me wrong, but I'm not as high on Porlex as some people are. And also the coaching staff on this team now isn't quite as expansive as it was. They used to have Shane, they don't anymore. Dominate's there now. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just not convinced this year. I think London are going to be like the worst team or second worst team this season.
Yeah, I would agree.
Damn.
It's a pretty harsh assessment, but like I'm actually just fed up of this bloody organization just doing stupid stuff. Like they don't upgrade, they don't try and actually make some serious moves. I mean, they've given it a go again, but it's like, I mean, come on, how do you not get either Wardy or Beans? I just don't understand the plan of this team. They frustrated me the last couple of seasons, and they continue to do so.
Yeah. I think if they had picked up that talent, they could have been, promising. But they've kind of played a safe route again. I would assume it's not a very it's not a market that I think NA players would want to go to, and it's not really something the London organization wants to reach out and get as well. And so they're kind of left with a lot of EU talent, and then what's there, they're not going for. And so, I feel like they're a low risk taking team. They're hoping to stay sort of in, well, they're not hoping to stay in the midfield, but that's what they're looking like they're trying to do. And so I think happy to be here is a very good place to put them.
They go up and down, right? Like good at Vanguard or good at Modern Warfare. Well, not good, but like okay, right? They made champs, came top 4. Absolutely awful in Cold War. Good in Vanguard, all things considered. Online.
Yeah.
And then they go into Modern Warfare 2, where I feel like it's going to be a rinse and repeat type situation. It just frustrates me because I'm like, are they expecting this team to qualify for champs with all the other teams out there? Like, I just don't see it. And if you come top 12 or top 9 or top 10, I don't really care. If you don't make champs, like, especially if you're not even close, which they might be close, but I'm just frustrated by this organization, to be honest. They did lose momentum when Gizmo stepped away. I can see that, but I just don't think this team has the same potential as last year's team.
I mean,
to be honest,
I'll say they got some decent pieces. It's very FaZe-esque from Black Ops 4 if Scraps ends up somewhere on this roster at some point during the season, because you'll have Asum0 and Maddie from Black Ops 4. You just missed either the Zuma or the MC player on that team, which I guess would be nasty, right? But it's tough because I think they can be good, but again, like it's really tough because they could be better than the 3 teams above them right now, but they could also hit the floor pretty hard. It's just about consistency between all of them. I don't know. I'm trying to be positive for this roster. I don't think anyone is by far the worst team in the league, which is a good thing because out of the past couple of seasons, you could always just pick the worst team in the league and everyone would agree with you. So I think it's a positive that we have more of a bottom 3 or bottom 4 that you can kind of pick from. That's something at least we've kind of upgraded on compared to years past. So hopefully they're better than what people are expecting. I want the league to have a lot of parity this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I see something. I'm probably overly biased just because the organization in general just frustrates me with some of the decision making. So I'm probably overly biased against the roster. I hope Nasty really shows out. Like I want Nasty to just prove to kind of be like a superstar stub like we thought he was going to be. If he can, this team could legit be good. But and they were briefly good with Paul last season when they had a similar roster. But with Afro instead, and Afro, he's a bit of a difference maker. As can Asim be if he's on form. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just not sold. I just can't see a world in which they make champs. Whether they're better than the other teams in that tier, I think they can be. Let's do Rocker. Because this is a really interesting one, like where Rocker and Ultra fit in. Because I kind of want to put them on the same level, but I know the flank was saying that Rocker are worse than Ultra because they have... it's basically a downgraded Ultra from last year. But Ultra also arguably a downgraded Ultra because they now have Standy, and that's a question mark. But we'll do Rocker first. I mean, to me, I think they qualify as contenders, I would say. I'm still a little bit unsure. I was really high on this team when it was first announced, but now I'm looking at it and I'm like, you know what? Like, the whole Bance question is still there in my mind. I do have a lot of faith in Afro. I mean, Cammy and Attach, it should be really damn good. And they bloody need to be good, because if they're not, this team is not going to have a particularly long leash, because this team has been put together with a lot of money to try and win. So I think I would say contenders.
On my
Yeah, I
hot
would say
take,
contenders. There you go.
my hot take is this team will be in the top tier with it should be like LA. I'm gonna because I always do the respect. I think LA Thieves should always be 1. And then it should be us. I think Minnesota's probably 3. I rate them pretty highly. Because I see
That's a
like
good take from you.
I see it as kind of not an upgraded Toronto, but more of a rejuvenated Toronto from Cold War. And I can see this team hitting the levels that Cold War Toronto hit. And I think like Attach is always going to be a positive voice on that team. They're going to keep their mentality high, because I know on the Toronto team sometimes they would get in their own heads a little bit. Attach is a good vibe to have on that. He'll be a good main AR for what this team needs. I think Afro is a terrific entry fragger, and then he'll be good with Bance. And personally, I thought Bance was kind of disrespected by some people in the fans in the community, because they think he's kind of like the worst player on Toronto. But I thought he brought so much to the table, and it says a lot that he instantly got a spot on the team. So I actually rate them very, very highly. Currently way above of Toronto. Pretty high above Toronto right now.
Yeah, I have them
Yeah.
above Toronto easily. I don't know. I don't know if it's just us. So I don't know who. Where did the flank rate them? They had them.
Well,
They were in
They had
B
ultra
and
higher
Ultra
than
were
Toronto.
A.
than
Yeah, which I
Rocket.
think is
got
faded
Rocket.
personally.
Yeah, I would say Rocket is way better than Toronto. I would put Rocket in contenders as well. I like all the pieces to this puzzle. We love the dirty work players on this podcast. So Bance is always, even though he gets disrespected by the community because he's not dropping 1.1s and 1.2s, but he's doing everything else on the map. So I think if the other 3 players, if Afro, Cammy, and Attach are doing their job and slaying, then he doesn't need to do that. And I think this is a good team for him. I think he fits in perfectly. He's going to be doing the dirty work, the early rotations, and getting those pivotal 2 pieces that we need when you're rotating. I think contenders as well, and I think they're far beyond. I wouldn't say far beyond, but I think they are better than Toronto, easily, in my opinion.
Am I crazy for thinking we have like a 4 horse, like 4 contenders? Like I personally
I think we
like
have 4 contenders.
I think LA, I think Minnesota is like my dark horse contender that I think should 100% be up there. I feel like every tournament this next year we're gonna say like they're one of the teams that could win it. And then I think obviously like Optic and Atlanta.
I agree.
Yeah, I think
think
what's so good about Rocker is that they have like 4 very different pieces on their team that all bring like something completely different. It's like Attach is Mr. Consistent, positivity, and then you have Cammy, who's like the X Factor Slayer. You've got Afro, who's an amazing entry, and then you got Bance, who's the ice. And it's like they all have these different like parts that they can bring to this team that all can step up at any moment. And so like I'm high on them just based on the makeup of the team. But we're yet to see. But I think definitely a contender for sure.
Oh, we
Yeah.
forgot about Surge as well. And I know we're ranking
Well,
soon, but
Surge, we gotta
fuck me.
find them somewhere. Let's do
Yeah.
Ultra, because to me, like they are right. To me, they're kind of not far behind Rocker, but I do think that I don't think Ultra quite qualify as a contender yet. I need to see the SMG duo in action, and I need to see how things are going to work out. You can say this with all the new teams, but there's just too many question marks to me about that Ultra team, especially with Marky B being gone, that they're really going to be able to contend for the win at the start of the season. I know that Scrappy is disgusting. I can't wait to see him in action. I'm semi-biased in that opinion, but at the same time, like I want to see how it works with Insight and Kleenex. He was impactful, but he didn't have a great season. Neither did Standy. And it doesn't matter what Scrappy's doing. If the SMG duo is dropping 0.9s each, they're not winning shit. So,
Yeah.
Well,
I think this SMG duo, could be really, really strong, because we saw that in a slower game in Cold War, these 2 players were extremely strong. Almost the 2 best players on their team. And so I feel like if the game suits that slower play style, those cracked out SMGs could actually be like super impactful. So like for me, it really depends on the pacing of the game for this team, because we saw last year Kleenex had a pretty rough year because when he was playing so aggressive, it wasn't like that was really favoring his team as much as it did on a more slower title. So,
and wait, I saw a comment I have to address here. Insight and Thatch are pretty much like they're on this equal level after last year. I think if anything, Insight has a slight advantage. But Cammy and Scrappy we haven't seen on a pro level for the entire season. To say he is that much better than Cammy, who was arguably the third, fourth best player of the season before Vanguard, is pretty crazy to me. And then to say like Kleenex is that much better than Afro is pretty crazy too. And personally, Bance is better than Standy, especially for what his role is in the team. So I personally think like this Toronto team is a dark horse. I think they're above Boston. I think they can be good. I think their S&D will always be good. But I wonder if the missing pieces that got taken off of this team this past offseason is going to hurt them a lot. So I would put them in dark horses above Boston. Personally, I don't think they're on the level of Minnesota yet. It depends on how their respawns kind of develop throughout the year. Because you're right, you can have aggression. Like people think like aggression equals having a good team, but the aggression needs to translate into slaying and map control. If you're just running forward and dying all the time, it's not getting you map control. You're not getting rewarded with anything. So you need to be able to like translate that into map control, translate that into kills, translate that into something positive. Because if you run forward and you're getting all these, if you get a kill and die and no one else is there to fill that, you're not bringing anything for your team. You're just running forward and dying, and maybe getting a kill or maybe getting an assist. So that's where like this team, I want to see like if what is missing off of this team from the years past will hurt them more than people are giving like credit for right now. Because I feel like not a lot of people are talking about how this team does not have Cammy, who was a top 4 player in Cold War, and they don't have Bance, who was like Mr. Intangible the last couple of seasons for them. So those are 2 big missing pieces.
Let's
Yeah, I
do
mean, I
New
really
York. Sorry, I cut you off.
Nah, I don't really have much to say anyway. I was just gonna say I would probably have them in dark horses too, but like definitely at the top end of it, I feel like they should be pretty close. We should respect them a little bit, and put them pretty close to contenders. But I would probably have them in dark horses too. So I agree with pretty much everything that you guys said.
I think New York going to a similar boat. To me, them and Boston are on a very similar kind of plane. And the New York one is really interesting, but I think that they pretty much epitomize what the dark horse should be in the analysis here, because they're a team that I think for a lot of people is on the kind of lower end of the midfield, because we don't really know what it's going to be without a clear IGL in Crim. Like when you lose Crim, the team always is going to lose a large part of their identity, which kind of puts it back to square one in a sense. But they also have an awful lot of talent, like arguably even more talent than a lot of the teams around them in that dark horse category. So to me, they might be my favorite dark horse, but I think to me they're quite clearly a dark horse.
I think that's safe to say, because you don't really know what you're getting out of Priest yet, and you don't know if you're going to get the same level out of Kismet. And I think Skies has shown he's pretty consistent from year over year. Since literally the end of Black Ops 4, he's been playing pretty much at the same level as he has now. So I think this team has a good core, and then it's all about how their players that are more question marks, how they perform. If they overperform or they perform where they have in the past, they could move up to contenders. The same thing with Toronto, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think dark horse is perfect for them because it's that like sort of tier where we don't know what to expect from them, but there's high hopes and also extremely a low floor, and so I think fits perfectly. Unexpected team.
Yeah, I agree. Dark horse as well. Definitely below Breach. Who do you guys reckon is better, Subliners or Gorillas? I know we'll go through it later, but I was just thinking about it just then.
I mean, we've pretty much got
there
there now with the list, but like, we might
do
New
a small
adjustment.
New York's ceiling's probably higher, but I
Who
also
do you think
don't
will
have
place
as much
better
faith.
first tournament? That's
Probably
the
LAG.
question here.
I reckon LAG.
Oh, that's a tough question. I don't know. I feel like they're going to place in like the same area. They're both just going to be like
both like top 8
in the same bracket of finishing.
It is real tough.
Yeah,
The way I would maybe organize it would be like Ultra, LAG, New York, Boston. That might be how I would do it. But I think that's probably a controversial take. That's just for first event though. But that might be how I would do it.
We can go over it later anyway.
We can go over it later, but yeah. I mean, I think the last 2 teams are quite clearly in contenders. I mean,
Yeah.
Seattle might not be. You could say that they aren't. For me, they will be for at least the start of the season. I think that again, it's kind of like LA Thieves will probably get better and better. Seattle, I'm not sure if they will, but Accuracy's teams generally start out very strong. They have that kind of carried over chemistry from last year. Predator's disgusting. Sib and Mac as well were really good. So, and they started out last year well when they were a brand new team. So I would be surprised if they aren't like up there competing at least, potentially for the win. I mean, we saw what they did last year, and I think Optic are in a similar boat as a result. So to me, I'd probably both have them there. I think Optic should quite clearly be in the contenders, and Surge, you could maybe argue they're a dark horse, but as I say, to me, I think that they might have a bit of a downhill slide over the season, but I expect them to come out the gate strong.
Yeah, I think there's too much talent and Pred and Sib for them to not be in contenders. I think that's where they belong. These guys are far too hard, bro. I would put Optic. I think Optic is clearly in contenders. I don't know. There could be some people out there that would argue that they should be in GOATs, but I think we're putting them both in contenders, right? I don't know how you think, Austin.
Yeah. So one thing with Seattle is I think they are clear-cut fifth, and then I think the other top four teams are like a step above. Last year, this was Seattle's placements: 2nd, 12th, 6th, 16th, 1st, 12th, and 3rd. So like you could see, it was like literally like a roller coaster of emotions there throughout the season. They had an average placement of 7.43. So there was a big like gap there, and the second place was at the kickoff tournament, and outside of that, they won Major 3 and they came 3rd at champs, but they had 2 top 12 and a top 16 finish and a top 6. So I think they are a step below, and it's all about finding some consistency in that team, because I think that's what hurt them the most last year. For Optic, I would personally have them in 5th currently, right behind Minnesota. That's like my hot take right now.
Did you not say
4th? Yeah, 4th.
Yeah, 4th. Yeah.
I would have them right behind Minnesota, and then personally, I would have LA Thieves in the top category with Atlanta, and I would probably have them first for now until proven otherwise.
Sure, I get it.
I agree. I think Seattle, their biggest strength last year was clearly their slaying. And when they weren't frying, they were getting kind of bodied. And so it really depends. Are they going to be firing more often this year? Are they going to be the same? That's almost like a dark horse sort of narrative. But I think if going off of where they were at the end of last year, coming 3rd, really they had a chance to upset Atlanta in the what was it, losers final or winners final? Losers final. And they obviously fell short, but I think that they should be extremely strong. And then Optic, I feel like I'm probably going to put them in the same sort of category coming into last year. So I think I would put them personally 3rd, just ahead of Rocker, behind LAT.
Yeah, I would put Optic there too. I'll put Optic in front of
Yeah,
Rocker.
I don't think I can put my name to a list that has Rocker above Optic yet. I'll get,
Yeah.
and also I don't know. I'm still a little bit iffy about this Minnesota team in the back of my mind. And Optic, they're confirmed winners. I think that's the difference for me. That why I would put Optic above Rocker is that they're at least a team that can win, can consistently contend. Until you've seen Rocker in action. And obviously, like FaZe, we haven't seen them in action, but I mean, come on, it is FaZe at the end of the day. That's why I think I would have Optic 3rd. So yeah,
I think we chuck Optic 3rd.
I would swap them around, but I agree that Rocker, I would like to have them in 4th. I think that's quite nice. So yeah, let's swap them around. I think the rest of contenders is correct.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm iffy on Rocker and Surge. I don't know where I would.
Omar, you should take screenshots of each version of what we would think it should be, and then tweet it out and see who thinks has the best list. Because I think we all have 4 different variations of how we would do that top part of the list right there.
Yeah, so Austin wants LA Thieves in go-to, which I think is understandable. And maybe, yeah, I don't know. I think, do we not generally, like, I don't know. I kind of agree on this, but as you say, the Surge Minnesota thing is kind of interesting. But,
I agree on this, but I think that I would think about putting Surge in front of Rocket.
It might be the same argument, right? Surge have won something. Like,
Yeah,
To be
I
fair,
could
though,
make that argument as well.
this core of Minnesota, would you have ranked Toronto above Texas in Cold War?
I mean, no.
In Cold War,
No, I mean,
you would not have
in
ranked
Cold War.
Toronto.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Cold
yeah,
War,
just
yeah.
over above. Yeah.
So
I
that
Saturday or
was
now?
only like 380 days ago. It wasn't too far long ago, and I think that these were like two of the like big play. I mean, this is half of that team with Afro, who is a suitable replacement for Kleenex, and Attach, who is a suitable replacement for Insight. So I'm not discounting them yet. I would still
Yeah,
have
but-
them ranked pretty high.
Toronto were so unexpectedly good in Cold War, and Optic was so unexpectedly shit in Cold War, and they were still reasonably close.
I mean, outside of Stage 1 last year, I mean, Optic didn't. They only won once, right?
Yeah, it was what 1-5, but it's not like you went into every single series those two teams played and thought Toronto was going to kill them. Like it
I
was
mean,
always like
they went 8th, 1st, top 6, 4th, top 6, 4th, 4th. So I don't know. I wouldn't put them drastically above Minnesota, but that's just a hot take out of me. Like I still think like either way you put it, those guys are above Seattle.
I think the contenders are all close, to be honest. I don't really have too much of an opinion Minnesota versus Seattle, but in my mind, Minnesota and Ultra should be like right next to each other.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
like I said, well, I would switch search. That would put Rocket and Ultra, guess technically, not technically next to each other, but
Kind of close enough. I mean, what do
Yeah.
you think, Lion? Swap them or not? If we get a 3-for-1 majority, we'll do it.
Well, in my list, I've put Toronto because I've kind of just like drawn my own one. I've put Toronto in between Dark Horse and Contender, like kind of
Okay.
how
What
Florida.
do you
in
do with
between them on the
Surge
list.
and Minnesota?
Surge, I put the back of Contenders, and I put Rocker slightly above them. So my
Okay.
Contenders is LAT, Optic, Rocker, Seattle.
All right, let's
I
keep
mean,
it as it
tied
was then. Let's
2-2.
keep it like
Yeah,
this.
Leave it as it was.
Okay, let's do to Dark Horses. As I said, to me, this is pretty good what we have, but I think Boston is, I don't know, it's the first event we're talking about. In my head,
think
Boston is
Boston-
weaker than these teams, but honestly, I don't know.
No, I got Boston. I think this is how I would have it. I don't know. I would think about switching New York and Gorillas, but I'm not super high on Gorillas. But I think Boston deserves to be second here, definitely in front of Gorillas and Subliners, in my opinion.
I don't hate
That's
that.
fair. I actually like that. So should we swap? Okay, I liked it as it is. Should we swap New York and LAG? That's the question. This is first event we're talking about. My head says LAG are going to grind hard and they're going to be all right, but I don't know. I think it's tough to say who's better at the start of the season between these two.
I also think they're going to be super fucking aggressive, and it's harder to punish teams that are aggressive at the beginning of seasons. At the end of seasons, teams that are just like really aggressive like that, it's easier to punish. So they might be able to get away with more aggression at the beginning of the game than obviously
LAG?
yeah. Because you got to think it's Neptune, it's Hook, it's Spart, who's actually a pretty fast AR, and then Alec, who's one of the faster main ARs. So they might just go full pace at the beginning of the year, which might be unexpected and like, get them some advantages. Because you got to think, Raleigh's like what, 4 or 5 weeks into the game. Teams are going to know the best way to hold hills. Teams are going to know the best way to punish and like push out spawns. Yeah, so like that could work in LEG's advantage at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna do our own ones anyway. I think for the Twitter post. But like I said, I think I would have New York in front of Gorillas. But I feel like both those teams are gonna place the exact same, like what the exact same bracket in the first event. They're gonna earn the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Thoughts, Line?
I think keep it as it is.
I'm happy to keep as it is. All right, cool. What do we think of our list, chat? Here we go. I actually think this is really good. I agree we might change a few things, what could be an S tier or whatever. But I also like how kind of compact it is, just because it's difficult to choose between a lot of these teams. But I think
Are we gonna do the bottom one or?
I thought I don't know. In my mind, that was
clear.
set. but we could potentially
don't know, I
change
would-
like London and Vegas.
I was thinking, London and Vegas. I don't know. That's tough to pick. Like, who's the worst team in the league? Is it
Probably
London or
should be
Vegas?
Vegas, to be honest. It probably should be. Out of
I don't
respect
know.
for
Out of
London, we can't have the.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say out of respect for Vegas.
Yeah, I was also going to say that, but then I changed my mind. Out of respect for Vegas,
They gotta
they've
keep
gotta
their
be
spot.
last.
They've kept it warm for so many years.
I don't know. I would switch them. I don't know about you guys. I think I would switch them.
Vegas last?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think,
maybe
yeah,
it's
I think
me.
I also want to as well.
It honestly doesn't matter though. I think they're both just right at the bottom.
They're both 11, 12.
I was gonna leave Vegas there because clayster.
It's so hard because I
Good
actually
man.
like the players on these teams. Like
Yeah, I know,
I do
yeah.
like the players on the teams. It's just tough because I think the bottom half of the league is actually pretty like stacked up against each other. Like I feel like a lot of those matches is I feel like you're gonna have like a clear cut top 4, top 5, and then the rest of the teams are actually gonna knock each other off constantly. So I personally don't think the gap is that big between the beginning of Dark Horses to the bottom of Happy to Be Here. Like I don't think it's that big as it was in years past. Years past, that shit was a mile long. Like the difference between some of them.
I like it though. Our list is there's already a couple of hot takes now. I don't mind keeping Vegas at
Yeah.
12
I
until
think-
proven otherwise.
I think it'll be fun if we get a graphic of all 4 of ours and see, what the people at Twitter say and the people read it. Probably gonna abuse us, but it's whatever.
Yeah, agreed. Anyway, let's leave it there for today. Thanks for joining us all. It's getting late here. Thanks all for chatting in the chat. These always rile up more controversy than like anything else because everyone has their opinion, which is great. And it's difficult between 4 of us to come up with what we think. But I think we did a pretty good job. And yeah, that's going to do it for today. Final thoughts, boys, before we close out the show. Next week, actually, by this time next week, we'll have had the Black Ops 2 throwback. That'll be fun.
That would be able to break that
yeah.
down.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I just wish some of the teams were old teams, but it's okay. Still some good content. We've got some COD to watch for the first time since Champs. I'm excited. And then shout out to Breaking Point next once again. That's going to be fire. But that's still ages away, but it's going to be fire. Someone
I
else
can't
want
wait.
to go?
My bad. Yeah, well, I mean, we watched the Cold War tournament today. It's probably already a few hours in, but they've probably only played 2 matches because you guys know how these tournaments go. What do we got for the next week? Then we've got 2.5 weeks until Modern Warfare launches. I think did you say the campaign launches early, Austin?
Yeah, it launches a week early, so
I might play that. That'll be my
I'm
first
so
campaign I've
fucking
ever
excited for
played.
that.
Yeah.
I love campaigns, bro.
Might throw up a stream. I don't know. Maybe might play that in my first campaign. But yeah, other than that, I don't think waiting for London to announce. I don't think there's much else that's really going on aside from the throwback. But yeah, just counting down the days for Modern Warfare, boys. It's gonna be fun. The launch is always fun, man. I'm gonna miss the next year when there's not like a launch for a new game. It's kind of just like a revamp or whatever they're gonna do. So I will miss that because like the start of games is so fun, like kickoff tournaments and finding all these cool spots, 2v1s, 1v2s, and all those types of things. Like I love it.
Bro, the way they're gonna have to do that is they're gonna have to like release like the season 2 DLC or something like that, and it'd just be like 12 new maps, shit ton of new guns.
Dead silence is a perk.
Not a button that goes beep when you have to do dead
Yeah,
silence.
yeah.
New kill streaks, just to like completely revamp it so it feels
red
new.
dots on the minimap.
Oh, don't go too far. How about teal on a red? How about teal on a red dot site? So there we go. That's manageable. We'll start with that first.
All right.
There we have it.
Do it.
Might be us.
There we go.
Might be us.
Thanks for
Well-
joining, gents. We'll be back soon. And set your diaries for Breaking Point next.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Fantastic
November
scenes.
5th in the 6th.
Yeah, I didn't even say the dates. So thankfully, Austin said the dates. All right, cool.
Gotcha.
Cheers, boys. Have a good afternoon, evening. Thanks, Omar, as well, for helping out behind the scenes. Drop us support on YouTube and the audio platforms as well. We'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching, as always. Take care. we'll see you next time.